Good afternoon and happy World Book Day. I have been to the shop and bought one of the World Book Day books for £1, but you can use your vouchers from school and get them for free. So this book is called Dave, Pigeon, Bookshop Mayhem. Chapter 1. Who put a couple of pigeons in charge of writing a World Book Day book? How about a pigeon-tastic adventure involving a grey slipper? A slipper? I asked. Slippers can be very interesting once you get to know them, Dave replied. So what happens with this slipper? I said, as I tapped on the keys of our typewriter. I can't come up with everything myself, Dave huffed, throwing his head back in frustration. I looked at the board-up scraps of paper littering our shed floor. Writing a brand new story was impossible. We'd given up on the story about the time we saw a cloud that looked a bit like Dave's granny's bottom. We ditched the story about the time we thought we were being chased by a lion that turned out to be a tree. And now there was Dave's slipper story. Nobody wants to read a story about a slipper. I ripped out Dave's ridiculous suggestion from the typewriter roller and tossed it over my shoulder to join the rest of the rubbish ideas on the ground. It's World Book Day tomorrow, I cried. We need a story. Don't you think I know that, Skipper? Dave groaned. My pigeon fans will be wanting to know what I've been up to for the last couple of years. His shoulders slumped as he plodded down from the window ledge to join me on the shed bench. They'll want to hear stories of how I vanquish megalodons. No one would ever think you did that, Dave. And they'll want to read about how I dived headfirst into an erupting volcano. Dave, you couldn't dive headfirst into that pot of paint over there, I said, pointing at the can on the floor. That's because the lid has been painted shut, Dave scoffed. Otherwise I could. He couldn't. He tried earlier this morning. Despite Dave's bonkers ideas, he did have a point. We'd told everyone we'd gone on holiday. We'd hoped to return with wingfuls of adventures. But the truth is, we'd got about as far as the bakery at the end of the street and then just spent our entire holiday eating croissant scraps. Sadly, the bakery closed down and with it our lifetime supply of burnt pastry bits. We'd returned to our human lady's shed only to find she'd gone off on holiday too. I plumped up an old cushion for Dave to nest in. As he faffed and fussed, I searched our shed. Surely there was a story right here. I paced the long edge of the bench and looked at the wonky shelves full of boring odds and ends. There were jars of boring nails, old boring plant pots, boring rusty tools, and a boring pile of boring cables that led to boring nowhere. I flew up to the window ledge and looked out into the garden. The grass hadn't been mown since the human lady had gone away last week, but it was still short. There were a couple of boring ladybirds teetering on the edge of a boring blade of grass by the boring bird bath. I wish there was a place full of books and we could just pretend we wrote one of them, Dave moaned, interrupting my thoughts. His tummy grumbled in unison. And somewhere where we could get a biscuit or two as well. I stopped pacing. Dave, I grinned, you're a genius. And that's where I'm going to end. You are going to have to find the book to read what happens next. This book will be in the school library, though, if you want to read it at school, if you decide to choose a different book from the World Book Day choices.